guys, welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, hi, hello, my name is Brianna, and today we are doing another little reading vlog. I love doing these reading vlogs where I basically just film myself reading and then my reactions to the books that I read throughout the week. I like to do challenges sometimes if you're new and if you don't know. So this week I am challenging myself to read only wintry books, and a little bit more specifically, wintry thrillers. I think sometime in January, or maybe it was early February, I read like wintry books, but it was romance, it was thriller, like a mix of different types of books. But today, I want to do thrillers. I live in Minnesota, if you don't know, and it is currently like negative 24 degrees Fahrenheit out. At least it was when I woke up this morning a few hours ago, and the real feel was like negative 30 something. So it's a cold week. I don't think it's gonna warm up until like Thursday or Friday this week, and it's currently Monday. So I am going to do my best at staying inside all week, not having to go anywhere, because A, who even knows if my car will start, and B, that is just way too freaking cold to go outside in. Like, sorry, I don't want to freeze to death, so I thought it would be very fun to cozy up inside with some wintry thrillers, because I actually have a few on my TBR, some other ones that I want to read on my Kindle, and I don't know, I just like reading the same atmosphere that I am currently in for whatever reason. Like, I don't like reading summery books in the winter, I don't like reading wintry books in the summer, and just anything. I like reading in the current season that I'm in. For me, I just feel like I get more immersed in the story because I can actually like relate. I think when you guys are seeing this, it's like the last week of February, and if it's already springtime for you, I am very, very jealous. In Minnesota, we probably won't get springtime until like May. Because the way things work in the Midwest is January so cold, like you hardly get any precipitation, any snow in January because it's too cold to snow, and then February usually you just get dumped on because it warms up a little bit to the point where it can actually snow. For some reason we are having an extremely cold February. Love that for me. Literally talking like negative 20s for multiple days in a row. And then March, again, like it warms up a little bit but not quite enough, so you get like sleet, like a rain and snow mix that is just disgusting. Then in April, you get kind of like a false spring because it'll be nice, but then all of a sudden you'll probably get another snowstorm. And then May is finally where it usually stops snowing. You can still have really, really cold days in May, like 40, 50 degree days, but usually it starts warming up by May. So I still have a few more months of winter probably here in Minnesota. So yeah, I am very, very jealous of everyone already having spring weather. Anywho's, enough of me babbling about the weather. Let's just get into the video. I think the first book that I want to read is The Crash. So The Crash is by Frida McFadden, and this one came out late January. I don't even think it's been out a month yet as I'm filming this. Maybe it has been now when this is being uploaded. But it's just another Frida McFadden thriller. She just keeps getting them out. Like, she just came out with The Boyfriend, I think in the fall, and now we have The Crash. So this one follows our main character who is pregnant, I'm pretty sure, and she's driving in a blizzard, and like, living in Minnesota, I'm very familiar with driving in blizzards. This couple ends up letting her stay in their house, and they're like, oh, you can stay with us until the storm blows over. Well, storm blows over, and they're like being weird. They don't really want her to leave, don't really want to let her leave. So just like sketchy vibes. So now the main character is like, oh, I'm probably in danger. And she's pregnant, so like lots of factors going on here. I am very excited to start it. Again, just because I feel like I'm going to be able to relate to this one, like driving in bad weather. I don't know. It's also a pretty short book. On my Kindle, it says there's 338 pages, so I can usually get through Frida McFadden books pretty quickly. They're very quick and easy thrillers. I have probably read Frida McFadden a few times now on this channel. So let's just get to reading, shall we? Hello, it is time for our first little reading update. Also don't mind this lighting. I'm sitting in the dark because honestly I'm just way too like comfy. I don't want to get up if I don't have to right now. And also it's way too bright upstairs. Like the sun reflecting off the snow is just too blinding, so I could not bring myself to go up there and read. But I am 34% through The Crash by Frida McFadden on chapter 21, it looks like. And a little bit about more of The Crash, since I just kind of gave you a little bit of the synopsis earlier, but obviously, like, I hadn't started it, so I didn't know entirely. But it's about our main character, Tegan, who is about 8 months pregnant, I think. She just recently turned 23. She's going to be a single mom, got pregnant after a one-night stand, and she's just, like, struggling. It's really hard just to make ends meet, but she's doing what she can, and she is thinking that she will, like, get some money from the baby daddy here soon. So she actually decides that she's going to visit her brother who lives in upstate Maine. I think she lives somewhere in Maine, but he's like North Maine because he works at a ski resort. So she is going to drive up there to go visit him because of a situation that happened with the baby daddy. She's very upset about. So she's gonna go visit her brother and probably stay with him until she gives birth. On her way there, though, there's a huge snowstorm, and she actually ends up crashing her car, which also, I would just like to point out the fact that she drives a Ford Fusion, and I also drive a Ford Fusion. I mean, I feel like I am really relating to Tegan right here, like driving in a blizzard, because we experience the same thing, because we both drive Ford Fusions, so I just thought that was funny. Anyways, she crashes on her way to visit her brother, tries to call 911, but, like, has no service because she's in the middle of nowhere, and also there's just a huge storm. So, like, power lines and stuff are down. Thankfully, a truck is driving on the road, and he sees that she has crashed her car, like, I'm assuming down into the ditch to, like, hit a tree. So he goes and then, like, digs her out so he can get her out of the car. She is injured, and he ends up just driving her back to his house because the hospital is too far away to drive in, like, those terrible conditions. And he's like, it's okay, my wife is a nurse, like, we will get you to the hospital as soon as the roads clear up, or we can call an ambulance, but right now all the lines are down, the power's out, so it's not looking too good. She is very, very scared. That is just kind of where I am in the book right now. Like, she's at the couple's house. Hank and then Polly, I think, are the couple's names. And Polly is taking care of Tegan best she can. And they're like, yep, we will get you to the hospital. We'll get you all taken care of once the snow lets up and the plows are out and we can, like, call an ambulance. But, like, the more time that Tegan is there, Polly is still like, oh, the roads still aren't plowed. And also they're, like, keeping Tegan in the basement because they have, like, a medical bed, like a hospital bed in their basement. I don't know. Also, Frida McFadden is definitely tricking us as the reader right now because I feel like she wants to make it come off that, like, Hank is an abusive husband because she's noticed some bruising on Polly and such, and she also has heard them yelling with each other, so she thinks that Hank is abusing Polly, but I don't know, I feel like that's just too easy. Like, I feel like Polly is actually gonna be the one that is, like, the bad guy. I don't know. I have a few theories. I'm not gonna say them, just, like, in case they're spoilery. I don't know yet, but it's going very, very fast. I have 2 hours and 40 minutes left, so yeah, not too shabby. And I mean, I feel like it is kind of realistic. Like, it really depends on the storm, but, like, if there is a big blizzard like that, it will take a while for the plows to go out. At least in Minnesota lately, like, the last few years, they wait until the storm is totally over for the plows to go out at all. So let's just say you have, like, a storm warning from Tuesday to Thursday. The plows won't go out until after the storm lets up on Thursday. So I don't know how they do things in Maine. I don't know if this is accurate, but I feel like it's kind of accurate for here in Minnesota. Like, you might have to wait out the storm a few days, but I feel like here we wouldn't really lose power, but they are out in the boonies. So, like, depending on the wind and stuff, and if lines are down, then yeah, you could definitely lose power. But I feel like I, at least, have never lost power from a snowstorm. Knock on wood, because I feel like now that I say that, literally the next time I'll lose power. That would be terrible. Megan's just in a really tough spot because she has a broken ankle. She can't get a hold of her brother, so she's like, oh my gosh, my brother is probably super worried without me, like, calling him and being there because I was supposed to get to his place a few days ago. She can't go to the hospital. Again, she's very, very pregnant, so, like, she's worried about her baby. She needs to get her baby checked on after being in the accident. And she also has, like, this drama with the father of her baby that's going on that she's worried about. So things are not looking good for Tegan. But that's, like, all that's really happening, guys. I feel like it didn't need to take us 34% of the book to get to this point. But we'll see what the plot twist is. See if it's anything crazy. But it's definitely a fast, very, very fast, quick-paced, easy read. You could definitely sit and read it in one sitting. But anywho's, I'm just gonna get back to reading. You guys, I have such a random update, like, not, like, related to the book, but not, like, related to my reading. But I mentioned earlier how in the book, Polly and Hank, the couple that Tegan is, like, staying with, they have a hospital bed in their basement. I kid you not. A couple hours later, after, or it's probably only been, like, an hour since I gave you that update. But anyways, since I have given you that update, I was just reading. So now I go onto my phone and I just go onto Instagram, watching Instagram stories. And if you are on Instagram, you know that there's, like, ads between stories. Well, honestly, there's ads all over Instagram, but they're really bad on stories as well. And tell me why I got an ad for a hospital bed from Amazon. I will literally insert a picture because I screenshot it because I was like, this is just so crazy, like, how Meta is just listening in on us 100% of the time. Because tell me why. Why else would I ever get an ad for a hospital bed? I just had to tell you that real quick because I thought that was so weird. Alright guys, I am currently ready for bed, so don't mind my appearance, but I just finished The Crash by Frida McFadden. Yes, I did start it and finish it in the same day. I think it probably took me a total of like 4 to 5 hours to read the whole book. Very, very quick and easy read. A little bit more after the last update I gave you. It just continues to follow Tegan. Her name might be Tegan. I don't know how to pronounce it. I was pronouncing it Tegan the whole time, but then another character compared it to the name Megan. So I'm like, okay, obviously Tegan and Megan aren't the same, but like Tegan. And then also her brother calls her Teggy, like Peggy, but with a T instead. I did not like that whatsoever. It just continues to follow. I'm going to call her Tegan as she is trapped in Polly and Hank's basement. Polly has some ulterior motives to keep Tegan there from going to the hospital, and I did call that. I'm not gonna say, like, this is what I was saying earlier where I was like, I have theories, but I'm not gonna say anything. I was correct on that theory. I thought that was very, very predictable. And we also get to read Polly's POV, which I think it's like interesting going back and forth from Tegan to Polly, and then them just like thinking these things about each other. I don't know how to really explain it, but just making these assumptions about each other when it's like, okay, I feel like if maybe Tegan should have, like, gotten to know the people who are caring for her. Like, I think this whole situation could have been avoided and handled so much better if, you know, Tegan was just like, oh my gosh, thank you guys so much. And then if Hank and Polly were like, oh, we're happy to help you. Like, what can we do for you? Like, the whole situation was just handled so poorly. So there was that. I really didn't like Tegan in some moments, but I feel like she did get a lot better toward the end. Yeah, I feel like the whole thing was pretty predictable. There was one twist at the end where I didn't see coming, and I was surprised by it, but I wasn't like, oh my god, jaw on the floor, shocked. I was just like, oh, okay. Because honestly, the whole book, like, it's a thriller book, but it was not very thrilling, if you ask me. It was very repetitive at times. Like, Tegan is in these people's house for multiple days, and it's like she's just saying the same thing over and over in every single one of her chapters. And then same with Polly, she is thinking the same thing over and over in all of her chapters, and I'm like, guys, at this point I do not care anymore. Like, I feel like it was so drug on. I feel like this could have been like some sort of novella or something, because I just feel like 300, I think it was like 330 to 350 pages was not necessary for this story. I am going to land with a 3.5-star rating though, I think, because it did keep me entertained. Like, I feel like I was watching a Lifetime movie. If you know, you know. I don't know if Lifetime is just like, I don't know. I grew up in the Midwest. I don't know if it's just like a Midwest thing, but like, they are kind of cheesy mystery thriller dramas. Like, they're bad. So bad. But like, you kind of make fun of them. They're like the Hallmark movies, you know, cheesy, like, romance holiday movies, but you get, like, cheesy mystery thriller movies with Lifetime movies, and it's like, that is what I felt like I was doing today while I was reading this book. I felt like I was watching a Lifetime movie. So if that tells you anything. So would I recommend it? Maybe. Maybe if you need something as, like, a palate cleanser or to get out of a slump, because it's just gonna be easy for you to get through really, really fast. But overall, if you're looking for an actual, like, good thriller mystery, I wouldn't recommend it for that reason. But it was still definitely a fun read to read while I was just sitting inside all day, because I was not going to step foot outside in the negative 20-degree conditions. So we will see what book tomorrow brings. Hello, it is the next day, and as you saw, I started Misery by Stephen King. I am not too far into it, only 44 pages so far. I feel like it definitely takes me a little bit to get into Stephen King novels, just because honestly the writing style is very, very different from anything I'm used to. It's like much more complex, and it's just like has its own style. He has his own style of writing, and I respect it. It just like takes me a second to get into it. So this is my third Stephen King novel, and all of them take me just a little bit to get into. Not that they're bad, but just more thought has to go into the words that I'm reading. And this is so interesting, you guys. I'm going to tell you a little bit what the book is about, and after I tell you just a little bit, just a smidgen of what I read so far, you tell me what it reminds you of. So this book, it was written in the 80s, I would also just like to say, and it follows an author who gets in a car accident because he is driving in a blizzard, and he breaks his legs in this accident, and a stranger helps him, gets him into their vehicle, and then drives them to their house, or drives him, the author, and then this woman who has taken him in her vehicle, drives them to her house, and then is keeping him there hostage because she is a former nurse, and she is taking care of him. But it just so happens that she is like this author's biggest fan. So, what does it remind you of? That the main character of the book crashed his car in a blizzard, got injured, and is now being held hostage in this person's house to be taken care of. Literally what we just read, The Crash by Frida McFadden, like, I feel like she definitely had to have taken some inspiration from this book for just, like, the overall premise of her book, because it's just, like, too similar not to be. Because the woman who has this author locked up in her house is a little crazy. Again, she is, like, a former nurse, so they're snowed in this lady's house. Well, our main character can't move or do anything because, again, he has broken legs, and she's, like, not taking him to the hospital or anything. She is basically holding him hostage because, again, she is a mega fan. Like, stalker mega fan level. And she really wants him to write or, like, rewrite the next book of her favorite series by him. Again, she is definitely cuckoo. She has gone off the deep end for sure. And our poor main character just, like, having to suffer through, and he basically knows, like, he has to give her what she wants if he's going to survive. I feel like I am also so confused, though, because it's, like, our main character will be having a conversation with himself in his head while, like, he's having a conversation with the woman holding him captive. So I'm, like, getting all jumbled around. I have no idea what's going on yet. But that's basically where I am in the book. Like, he's just literally being held hostage by this crazy woman who claims she is his biggest fan. So Misery, the title of this book, is like the title or the name of the books that the author in this book that we're following has written, and that is the book series that the woman is obsessed with. So I think he's gonna, like, be rewriting Misery's story while he's being held hostage because that's what she really wants. I don't know. I am very interested to see where this is going. I just thought it was so weird how similar The Crash and then Misery are. I picked this up and started reading it and started understanding, like, what happened, why he is now locked up with a stranger. Because our main character is very, very confused in the beginning because he's just been in a terrible accident. I was like, I just don't know if I can read the same, like, premise of a book back to back. Seriously debated on choosing a different book to read before this one because I was like, I might need a break from the whole gets in a car accident during a blizzard, gets so injured that they need to stay with a random stranger that they meet, and then that random stranger turns out that they were a nurse, but they're actually crazy in the head. That's my little update on Misery. I'm gonna keep just chugging along. I want to try and hit at least 100 pages today of this. It's fairly short. It's only about 350 pages, which I don't think is bad for a Stephen King novel. Yeah, I just thought I would give myself a goal of 100 pages, so then hopefully by then I am, like, actually really, really into it, don't really want to put it down, but it is a little bit of a slow start for me. I'm probably just going to continue reading this now. Why, hello. It is the next day. I thought I would pop on with a little reading update for Misery. As you saw, I started it yesterday. Oh, I love how you can just, like, casually see my 2 boxes of hot and spicy Cheez-Its over there that I keep by my bedside. You know, just late night snacks. Anywho's, why do I feel, like, self-conscious about that? Okay, hold on. Okay. Anywho's, reading update on Misery. I think yesterday when we left off, I said I wanted to try and get to at least 100 pages. I think I ended on page, like, 112 yesterday. I'm about 200 pages in now, so I have, like, 150 pages left to go. Hoping to get majority of it done by tonight, and then if I don't finish it today, finish it tomorrow morning. So the rest of, I don't know why I'm saying the rest of it. I haven't finished it, but where we left off yesterday, more things are just progressing with, I'm having a bad day, guys. I will get to that in a second, but Paul is the main character's name, the author, who is being held hostage by Annie, his biggest fan, stalker, psycho. So months are going by since the accident, and he is still trapped in Annie's house. Again, he is like paralyzed now because his legs are broken, his pelvis was broken in his accident, so she has a wheelchair for him that he can like sit up on, and she is forcing him to write the next book in his Misery series, but only for her. He is not going to be able to like publish this book. It is only for Annie. She is like, this is your payment to me for taking care of you after your accident. And Paul, who just like wants to survive, is like, yep, you got it. So Paul is writing the next Misery novel, so we get to read the book that he is writing and like what is going on in it and his thought process. I feel like we're definitely seeing his mind deteriorating because obviously like he's being held hostage. He has been kidnapped and he is suffering because he has these broken bones and they're not getting treated. Like, she is stuffing him full of pain meds, but like he's not getting better. So obviously anyone in that situation, their mind would start going a little bit. And then Annie is also just like psychotic. So we're seeing her crazy tendencies and how she reacts to things. And then we have Paul, who is just like doing and saying anything to basically save his life because he wants to eventually escape from her and go on to survive. Obviously, it's looking very bleak right now, just because of the situation. And this is honestly so disturbing. Like, there are some very, very disturbing things in here, things that Annie does, not just like to Paul, but to other people, to animals. Like, girl is actually crazy. So that is my update for the book. Paul is writing Misery, and yeah, I feel like that's all I got for the update. That's all that's been happening for the last 100 pages. I feel like it is very repetitive. So I'm not really loving that aspect, but we'll see what I think by the end and if there's a big plot twist. I will say I am having a very, very rough mental health day. I always try to be fully transparent with you guys. I have nothing to hide. I want to share my life with you, and I don't think that mental health, like speaking about it, is something that we should hide and keep to ourselves because it's not a taboo topic. It's a very, very important topic to talk about. And as someone who suffers from anxiety and depression, I can have really awful mental health days. Today is unfortunately one of those days. And for myself, just like a majority of readers, reading is an escape for us. It is a form of escapism to get out of our real life, get out of our head, and into a different world, into a character's head and what they're going through. But when I am having such a terrible mental health day and then I am reading about characters with poor mental health, like Annie also has depression, and clearly she has like other mental illnesses going on where she's actually like psychotic, like murderous, like a dangerous person, right? And then we have Paul, who his mental health is deteriorating because of the situation that he's in. So it's been really hard for me to read this book today, honestly, because I'm just going from my own bad mental health into another character's bad mental health. And I feel like it's honestly taking more of a toll on me. Yesterday, when I wasn't feeling, this way in my head, reading this book was fine. But today it has been a challenge, so I just wanted to throw that out there. And like, if you are someone who also suffers from anxiety and depression, and if you are having a bad day or having an episode, I would maybe stay clear of this book. And maybe it's not gonna impact every person like it's impacting me. Obviously everyone's different, but it has been a hard day. And it's only like 2 o'clock, so I still have a lot of the day left. So I don't really know what else you're gonna see from me today, just because I am having a really hard day, and I know you're probably sick of hearing me say today is a tough day, but I just wanted to be real and honest and tell you that if I don't get through much more of this book today, like if you don't see me reading any more of this book today, that is why. And if that kind of skews my opinion on the book a little bit, I just wanted you guys to know why. I just wanted to be real and transparent with you guys and explain why sometimes I just can't read a certain book at a certain time. But we'll see what happens. Maybe if I do a little bit of self-care, I'll feel a little bit better, and then we can read more of this. Because I do want to finish it and find out what is going to happen to Paul. So for me, I might not see you guys till tomorrow. But obviously for you guys, you'll see me again in like 5 seconds. So see you then. I just finished Misery, and thank God this is over. Although I do fear the content of this book will never leave my mind, and for that I will forever be traumatized. This was so disgusting and disturbing, and before anyone says anything like, oh, it's a Stephen King book, you should have known what you were getting yourself into. I have read other Stephen King books. I read Holly probably like 6 months ago, and that one also has to do with kidnapping and murdering and literal cannibalism. But this is so gory and graphic in the way that the character is murdering and harming people, and obviously like murder is going to be violent no matter what, but the way the character is like torturing people and just the details that Stephen King decides to go into, I'm like, he sure loves these words, huh? And again, like, I get that it is a horror thriller, and I am scared. It is scary to think that there are psychopaths out there like this in the real world doing these things to people, and like that could happen to you. It is so disgusting. It is so scary. So like, job has been done. But I don't know, you guys. This might be the end of my Stephen King journey. Just not that it's bad writing. Well, I don't love the writing, honestly. I feel like he does really, really, really drag it on. And also just like sometimes with male authors and the things that they say, I don't like it. It makes me very uncomfortable. I don't know if I am a Stephen King fan. I actually really liked Holly. I gave Holly a 4-star rating. I feel like that one was a lot more like mystery, thrillery, obviously a horror aspect as well, but I just thought that one was a lot more captivating and obviously like still kind of scary, still gross, terrible things happening, but better than this. Again, not that the writing is necessarily bad. I actually enjoy a lot of things about this. The whole story about Paul being kidnapped and taken hostage by his biggest fan and what she is putting him through. Him having to write this book, the next Misery novel in the series. And I think it's so interesting that Paul, who is the author of this famous book series called Misery, where that is the main character's name, is now living in his own misery, writing Misery's story. I do really like that, and I do think that is very interesting how it's kind of like a full circle moment in a way. I really like, not that I like what was happening to Paul, but I like the way that I feel like it accurately depicts what your mind would be going through and how you yourself would just be like breaking down in this situation. Like, I don't know the Stephen King lore. I don't know what inspired him to write this book. I feel like there's got to be something, because I don't know how else you just come up with these psychotic characters and make them do these psychotic things unless you are inspired by something you have seen or you have heard or you have feared of. I mean, I'm sure Stephen King, as a world famous author, does have crazy mega fans, and maybe these are like nightmares that keep him up at night. So I do think that is very interesting, how he was able to capture probably what he's feeling in Paul's mind in the story. I just feel so terrible for Paul. Like, anyone who has went through anything remotely like this, my heart just shatters. Again, it is so scary because
things like this do happen out in the real world, not just in a book. But yeah, overall, I feel like it was very, very drug on. I mean, Paul was being held hostage for multiple months, so okay, makes sense that it's drug on a little bit, but I feel like there's so many filler words that I just don't really care about. But again, if it's like what we are kind of seeing Paul's headspace as, I don't know how else to really explain it, you guys, but I think I'm gonna go with a 2-star rating. It just wasn't for me. If you can deal with really, really nasty, gory things and not be bothered by it, you'll probably like this book. But unfortunately for me, things were just taken too far. I actually really wasn't minding any of this stuff until probably like the last 150 pages where things started to get nasty. Like very graphic, very violent, and just not for me. Overall, again, I think it's an interesting story. I think it would be interesting to hear and like do some research on what inspired Stephen King to write this. Maybe I would have different thoughts on it then, but yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that, okay? And for our next book, I'm going to start The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. If you can see the cover, not that there's like a lot going on the cover, but it's like this mansion, it looks like, and then there's snow all around it. So it takes place in the winter on a Scottish island, or just in Scotland somewhere, I'm not sure. But it says there's a New Year's reunion, and there is like this group of friends for this reunion, but one of them is a murderer, and one of these people won't make it out of the book alive. So with this friend group, there's the beautiful one, the golden one, the volatile one, the new parent, the quiet one, the city boy, and the outsider. I have only ever read one other Lucy Foley book. It was The Guest List, and I didn't love it. I think I gave it like a 3-star rating, somewhere around there. I just thought it was very predictable and also kind of drug out. Like I didn't really love her writing style. But we'll see if I feel any differently about this one. I just think the premise overall sounds really good. Of course, another book about a murderer, but in The Guest List, there's also some murder going on. And hers is definitely not like very graphic and just gory and terrible things. It's just like, this sounds so bad to say because I'm literally talking about murder, but it's just like over quick, you know, no suffering, no pain, just gets it over with. And you know, I do really like Scotland. I've never been to Scotland, but I want to go to Scotland. So I really like reading books that take place in Scotland, even though I feel like every book I've read that takes place in Scotland has been a thriller. So it's like, okay, maybe I shouldn't go to Scotland because in the thriller books, there's some bad things happening. But I'm definitely hoping this is just a lighter read after Misery, even though this one still has to do with murder. I know that it'll be lighter, and that just makes me happy. Let's just get to reading this so I can hopefully get Misery out of my head. Hi guys, welcome back. I know it's only been like a minute since you last saw me, but for me talking to you guys, it has been several days. I just had a lot of stuff like going on with my family, like things to do and like events and stuff, and then I've been babysitting a lot, and I am sick. So like if I wasn't just busy, I've also not been feeling well, and my voice really, really was like gone the last few days. Not terrible, but not great. Also, I apologize for this lighting. I know it's atrocious. I just wanted to like sit down quick and like, guys, I'm feeling sick. I don't feel like dragging my tripod out and like looking aesthetically pleasing right now. I don't have the energy for that. Like, I'm gonna be so real with you. But the last thing you saw was me starting The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. I can tell you what chapter I'm on. I'm on chapter 21, and this book is about this group of friends like having a reunion at these, I think it's like a Scottish wilderness resort, so they're like staying in these cabins, and it takes place over a few days, and there was a murder like on the premises of this resort or whatever. So there are a lot of different POVs, like several POVs. I don't even know how many, but I feel like that many POVs, I just like cannot keep everyone straight. I don't know what is going on. It's very, very boring. Like, I think I have come to the conclusion that I just don't like Lucy Foley's writing style. It is so wordy. Like, man, does this woman like her words? Because it's like, oh, they're eating beef Wellington, and then there's also a souffle on the table, and this is how you make a souffle. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. This is not a cookbook. This is supposed to be a mystery thriller. Why are we going into detail about beef Wellington and a chocolate souffle? Like, get to the point. Jeez. Okay, sorry, that's my first little rant. Part of the book is like following the friend group's POV a few days before the murder happens, and then another POV I think is like the groundskeeper or like a worker at the resort after the body has been found, and her like recounting her experiences with this friend group and like what they were all doing, what they're all saying, just like her intel with the friend group. But yeah, it's very boring, and I feel like I blame the writing style for that. Honestly, it just does not keep me hooked. Like, there is a time and a place for a book to be atmospheric, and it is not this. Like, I don't need to be sitting at the dinner table eating beef Wellington, Lucy Foley. That's just me. But like, it is really, really taking me out of the story, and I just cannot wait for this book to be over so I don't have to think about it again. It's only like a 320 pages, so not too bad. I only have about 200 pages left. So I'm going to try to get through a lot of it today, just so, again, I can be done with it. And I guess find out who was murdered and who murdered the person. But like, honestly, I really don't care. I don't care about any of these characters because there's so many that you can't get like enough time, and you can't like, you just can't care about them enough because there's so many different POVs that you don't get enough time with each character. So yeah, not loving this so far, but obviously things could change as I continue to read it. But I just thought I'd give you a little update on where I've been and what I have been reading so far in The Hunting Party. So I'm gonna keep reading today. Okay, I have finished The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley, and I am never going to think about this book again. I just like do not care whatsoever. Like, I feel like 75% of the chapters were just filler. Like, there's no rhyme or reason for them. It was so boring. Like, where was the plot? It was literally just like describing random things, and it's like, I do not care. Please get to the point of the book, and it just took forever to get there. But yeah, I'm just like not gonna remember this book or the characters because I did not care about them. I'm never gonna recommend this book. Again, like, never am I gonna think about this book again after finishing it. Like, I did not care about the characters. I did not care about their stories and like their relationships with one another because, again, there's so many different POVs that you're bouncing back between so often that it's like you can't really connect to a character and like get inside that character's head because you just don't get enough time with them before you're jumping to the next character. There was like one surprise, I guess, that I had in the book that I wasn't really expecting, but it wasn't anything like a super crazy surprise. It was just like, oh, okay, and then you move on because you don't care about these characters. I'm gonna go with a 1-star rating, and this is my second 1-star rating that I have given within like a month. So that's pretty crazy, but again, just like the other 1-star rating that I gave in January, I just thought that there was no plot. It was so slow, so boring. It felt like nothing was happening the entire time. I didn't care about the characters. Like, there's no chemistry, there's no nothing. It's giving nothing. So 1 star, definitely would not recommend. And I think I've just come to the conclusion that Lucy Foley is not an author for me. I just personally really dislike her writing style, and I just cannot get into it. I have a lot of other thriller authors that I enjoy their writing style a lot more. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna stick to those or check out some other authors for thrillers, but I probably will not pick up another Lucy Foley book for that reason, unfortunately. Some other thriller authors that I like. Now, I do like Stephen King's writing. I do think he's a very talented author. It's just sometimes the actual plot of his books get me. Alice Feeney, I really enjoy her writing style. It is very quick, very fast paced, keeps you on the edge of your seat, whereas this does not keep you on the edge of your seat. This puts you to sleep. Frida McFadden, again, hers are definitely like more simple writing, but they're quick and easy. Another new like thriller author that I discovered, so like not new, but new to me, is Paula Hawkins. I read The Blue Hour and really love her writing style. Again, it keeps you on the edge of your seat. Every chapter ends and you're like, oh my gosh, and then what happened? And then you just keep turning the page. There are a lot of great thriller authors out there, and unfortunately, Lucy Foley is not one for me. If you love her work, I love that for you. I love that you are able to enjoy a book that I do not love, and I'm gonna enjoy books that you don't. So that's the thing. Everyone's reading a different book, even if it's the same exact book, it's all a different story to everyone. When I am giving these lower reviews on books, just because I dislike it doesn't mean you're going to dislike it. Throwing that out there, but let's do a quick recap of the other books that I read in today's video. I started out with The Crash, and I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this is the one that I had lowest expectations for, just because I haven't heard great things about it so far. I honestly was again going in with low expectations, but it turned out to be our highest rated book of this video for me. I rated it a 3.5 stars. Again, very quick and easy, kept me entertained. I read it in one day. And also, I don't know why, but I really enjoyed that, you know, you kind of set up the story in the winter during a blizzard. And obviously it's not good that the main character crashed her car, but like, I don't know, that's just a very realistic thing in the wintertime, is you can get into an accident very easily in bad weather. So I like that it's realistic. Was the other stuff throughout the book realistic? No. Like, once again, I think everything in this book could have been avoided if there would have just been like a morsel of a conversation, you know? And also I feel like this one did take a while to get into the main plot of the book. Like, I would say like the first 50 to 75 pages, you're just like, okay, let's get on with this. And then the twists, like, there were a lot of predictable things about it. The biggest plot twist at the end I didn't see coming, but I was just like, why? So do with that what you will. And then I read Misery, which, if you guys remember me saying, I was like, I feel like Frida McFadden had to have gotten inspiration from Misery just because they're both set up in such a similar way. And what do you know? I was scrolling on Instagram yesterday and I saw Frida McFadden's Instagram page pop up, and she had a post about Stephen King buying one of her books, and she was like, this is amazing for me because Stephen King's Misery actually inspired my latest book. And I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. This, unfortunately for me, was a little bit slower to get into, and it honestly just felt like the plot wasn't really moving anywhere. It was very stagnant for a majority of the book. And then also, it is so graphic and gory and just so violent that I feel like it just wasn't for me. And again, keep in mind, I have read Holly, which is also disgusting, what the characters are doing in that book, but I feel like this one was just a lot gorier, and I didn't love that. But overall, like, I can see why people would love this. So I'm not gonna say like, no, absolutely do not read this one. I give it a 2-star rating, but I can totally see how people would give it like a 4 or 5-star rating. And then lastly, we have The Hunting Party, which I just talked about, and I said I gave it a 1 star, and I'm gonna get rid of this book immediately because I don't want it taking up shelf space. So those are the 3 wintry thrillers that I read this week. It was a very cold week in Minnesota, like multiple days, -20s. I think today is the first day that it was like above 0. I don't know, but it got to like 40 degrees today. Amazing. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and please comment any other videos you want to see from me in the future, and I will see you next time. Bye!